The stars above Jupiter glimmered like scattered beads of light, each one whispering secrets of worlds untouched. The Umoja Voyager drifted through that infinite silence, its metal hull reflecting the soft amber glow of distant storms swirling across the gas giant's face. Inside, the hum of the reactor and the faint crackle of old Earth jazz played through the ship's comm system. Marcus Reed's doing, as always. He sat in the command chair, dark skin lit by the blue of the monitors, eyes sharp but tired. Every beat of the trumpet in the background carried him back to Atlanta, to his grandmother's bar where the walls smelled of bourbon, sweat, and hope. That memory was home even here, billions of miles from the soil that raised him. Then the sound came, not through the speakers, but through the stars. A sharp burst of static, followed by a trembling voice, soft, melodic, trembling with fear. It wasn't English. It wasn't any known alien tongue either. It carried rhythm, like poetry wrapped in pain. "Captain," said Ty Harris, the ship's pilot, glancing up from his console, "we're picking up a distress beacon, unknown origin, about 400 clicks off the Europa lane." Marcus leaned forward. "Language signature?" "None we can match," replied Dr. Amina Cole from communications. Her voice had that calm precision Marcus trusted most, but it sounds almost human in its structure. "Repetitive, emotional," he frowned. "Patch it through again." The voice returned, fainter now but clearer. It repeated a phrase, pleading, desperate. Marcus's chest tightened. Something about that sound. It wasn't just alien. It was lonely. Ty muttered, "Could be a trap, man. Pirates been using fake signals near Ganymede. We ain't trying to get spaced." Marcus didn't answer right away. He turned toward the viewport, watching Jupiter's storms boil in orange and crimson waves. He felt the pull, something deep, instinctual. "Dr. Cole," he said quietly, "can you triangulate the source?" "Already done," she replied. "It's stationary. A pod of some kind. No active propulsion, minimal power readings. Send me visuals." The screen flickered, revealing a small metallic capsule half buried in cosmic dust. Its surface shimmered faintly, carved with unknown glyphs. The bridge fell silent. Marcus took a slow breath. "Could be the first sign of intelligent life since the Cypherian ruins. That's history staring back at us." Ty shook his head. "Or death. History got a way of killing curious folks first." Marcus allowed himself a dry laugh. "You always this cheerful?" "Only when we're about to do something stupid." The intercom crackled as the AI voice chimed. "Captain Reed, Earth Command recommends avoidance until full linguistic verification is achieved." Marcus muted it with one tap. He didn't like waiting for Earth Command. Never had. The bureaucracy back home didn't understand what it meant to face the unknown firsthand. He stared at the signal waveform, pulsing faintly on the display, like a heartbeat lost in the dark. His grandmother's words echoed in his mind. "Mercy is power, boy. Never forget that." "Ty," he said finally, "plot a course to the source, slow and steady." Amina's brow furrowed. "Marcus, this could be dangerous." He nodded. "Yeah, could be. But if someone's calling for help out here and we ignore it, what's left of our humanity?" The silence that followed was heavier than the vacuum outside. Then Ty sighed, shaking his head with a grin. "You and that hero complex, man, fine, adjusting course." The ship's thrusters hummed, pushing them toward the unknown. The distress signal grew stronger, the alien voice clearer, like it was whispering right into Marcus's ear now. "Feels familiar," he murmured. "Like she's afraid of us." Amina looked up sharply. "She?" He didn't know why he said it, but he could feel it. That voice wasn't just data. It was a person. Outside, Jupiter's storms raged on, ancient and endless, as the Umoja Voyager cut through the void toward the faint echo of a plea that would change everything. And if you're drawn to stories of courage, discovery, and the human heart reaching beyond the stars, don't forget to subscribe, traveler. The journey's just begun. The capsule drifted silently outside the Umoja Voyager, a dark silhouette against Jupiter's distant glow. Its hull shimmered faintly, etched with geometric patterns that seemed to pulse when scanned. Inside the bridge, tension pressed like gravity. Marcus stood beside Dr. Amina Cole, his jaw set, gaze fixed on the live feed from the drone. "Magnetic locks engaged," Amina reported. "We've got it stable." Ty leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Tell me again why we're bringing this thing on board, 'cause from where I'm sitting, that looks like trouble gift-wrapped in alien metal." Marcus didn't look at him. "Because someone's inside." "Yeah," Ty muttered. "And maybe they're the reason half their ship ain't here anymore." The airlock sealed with a low hiss. For a moment, all that could be heard was the hum of the engines and the faint crackle of the ship's comms. Marcus exhaled slowly. His palms were sweating, but his voice stayed calm. "Amina, with me. Ty, keep the engines hot. If something goes wrong, I want this ship ready to burn." Amina nodded, grabbing a scanner and a med kit. Her steady professionalism grounded the moment. "You really think this is a rescue?" "I think it's what we'd want if it were us out there," Marcus said quietly. When the inner door cycled open, the first thing that struck him was the cold. The pod's air carried a metallic tang, sharp and sterile, tinged with something floral, almost electric. Within the faint blue light, a figure lay suspended, humanoid, slender, restrained by luminous bands of energy. Amina's eyes widened. "She's alive." The being's skin shimmered like polished bronze beneath translucent veils of bio-armor. Her hair, or what looked like it, floated weightlessly, streaked with silver threads that pulsed faintly with light. Marcus stepped closer, heart hammering. Her eyes snapped open. Reflex made him freeze. They glowed with a soft amber fire, pupils contracting sharply, as if the brightness of his presence burned. She gasped. Or perhaps the sound was a word. Her lips moved, trembling, as she whispered something rhythmic, melodic. Amina raised her scanner. "Vitals are stable but weak. Neural activity's off the charts." "She's speaking. I think it's Valen?" Marcus frowned. "You've seen that before." "In ancient linguistic archives," Amina said. "But this isn't supposed to exist. The Veylan Empire collapsed centuries ago." The alien woman turned her gaze toward Marcus, her expression tightening. Fear, unmistakable. She struggled against the restraints, eyes darting across his face. He lifted both hands slowly, palms open. "Hey," he murmured. "You're safe here. We're not going to hurt you." Her breathing quickened. She shook her head, whispering words that trembled like glass. Marcus didn't understand the language, but he understood the emotion, raw panic. Amina adjusted the translator. "She's saying, don't touch me, human." The words landed heavy in the air. Ty's voice cut through the comm. "What's going on down there? You two alive?" Marcus tapped his comm. "Yeah, but she knows what we are." "That's supposed to be a good thing," Ty muttered. Ignoring him, Marcus knelt beside the pod. The restraints glowed brighter as her pulse spiked. "Amina, can we release her safely?" Amina hesitated. "These bindings, they're self-regulating. Alien biotech. If I force them open, it could kill her. Then find a way that doesn't." Amina's eyes met his. "Marcus, if she's really Veylan, they were known for using empathy as manipulation. Are you sure this isn't just instinct?" He thought of the voice that had crossed the void, trembling but strong, calling out through static. Does it matter? She called for help. For a moment, time stood still. Then Amina sighed, typing commands into her wrist console. The restraints dimmed, fading into faint threads of light before dissolving entirely. The woman gasped and collapsed forward, straight into Marcus's arms. Her skin was cold, trembling, her voice a whisper of disbelief. "Human! Hands!" Amina watched silently as Marcus steadied her. The alien's fingers brushed his wrist, her eyes widening like she'd touched something sacred. Outside, Jupiter's storms rolled on, uncaring, as within the ship a fragile connection was born, one that neither of them yet understood. The hum of the Umoja Voyager's medical bay carried a quiet rhythm, the kind that filled the space between breaths. Monitors blinked in soft blue pulses, casting faint reflections across polished steel and glass. Princess Soraya lay on the diagnostic table, her eyes half open, her chest rising in slow, uneven rhythm. Every time she looked at Marcus, her pupils contracted like a reflex she couldn't suppress. Marcus stood near the foot of the table, hands clasped behind his back, trying to look smaller, calmer. The faint smell of antiseptic mixed with something floral, the alien's scent, light but sharp, almost electric. "She's stable," Amina said, scanning Soraya's vitals. "But her neural waves are strange, complex patterns, maybe linked to emotional response." Marcus watched the alien's hands, delicate, trembling, faintly glowing beneath translucent skin. "You think she can understand us?" "Maybe pieces," Amina said. "But she's terrified of you, of humans in general." Soraya turned her head slowly, her voice barely a whisper, melodic even through fear. The translator flickered before catching her words. "Keep distance." Marcus nodded, keeping still. "All right. No touching, just talking." She blinked, confusion flickering across her features. "Talking?" "Yeah," Marcus said, his voice soft. "We talk before we act. It's how we make peace." The translator lagged, distorting his words into fragmented sounds, but something in his tone made her pause. Her breathing slowed, eyes narrowing in focus. Ty's voice broke through the comm. "Command wants a report, Cap. They're already asking why you brought her in without clearance." Marcus sighed. "Tell 'em we'll send it once she's conscious and communicative. I'm not logging her as cargo." Ty chuckled dryly. "You know they're gonna eat you alive for that, right?" "Wouldn't be the first time," Marcus replied, cutting the channel. He turned back to Soraya. She was watching him, not with the fear of a prisoner, but the calculation of someone reassessing everything they'd been told. Her eyes shimmered like liquid amber. "You are human," she said through the translator, her voice halting but clear. "The rough ones." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Rough." She nodded, her expression tightening. "Stories say your kind breaks worlds, that your touch burns." Marcus gave a faint, almost sad smile. "Some stories ain't worth believing." Amina looked up from her screen. "That phrase, rough ones, it's part of old galactic myth. The Valen archives described humans as a violent, primitive species. It was propaganda to justify isolation." Soraya's gaze darted between them. "You came anyway. Why?" Marcus hesitated. "Because you called for help." She stared at him for a long moment, then whispered something so soft it barely reached the translator. "I did not believe you would answer." Silence stretched. The ship hummed, steady as a heartbeat. Marcus could feel her words settling in his chest like stones dropped into deep water. Amina adjusted the sensors again, her voice quiet. "Her body's rejecting the pod's stasis residue. I'll need to run a full cleanse. She'll recover faster if she relaxes." Soraya flinched when Amina approached with the injector. Marcus noticed and raised a hand gently. "It's medicine. It'll help." Her lips pressed together. "Trust is not given freely." "I know," Marcus said, meeting her eyes. "But we'll earn it." The translator buzzed with static, but the emotion behind his words didn't need translation. For the first time, Soraya's shoulders eased slightly. Amina injected the serum, her movements careful, precise. That should do it. Neural activities balancing. Soraya's eyelids fluttered. She turned her gaze toward Marcus again, studying him as though trying to decode something ancient. "You speak like one who carries fire." Marcus tilted his head. "Maybe. Or maybe just a man who's tired of watching people suffer." The translator hesitated before interpreting, but when the meaning reached her, Soraya's lips curved faintly, not quite a smile, more like the shadow of one. Marcus stepped back as the medbay lights dimmed to rest mode. "Amina, keep her monitored. I'll deal with command." As he left the room, the alien princess whispered something too soft for the translator to catch, a word that would echo later in his memory. Human. The Umoja Voyager drifted in silent orbit above Titan's shadow, its lights dimmed to conserve energy. In the medbay, Marcus stood beside Princess Soraya's recovery pod, watching the soft rise and fall of her breathing. Her color had deepened since Amina administered the serum. The glow under her skin now pulsed like a heartbeat made of light. Dr. Amina Cole sat at her console, translating fragments of Soraya's language through an evolving algorithm. Her syntax is built around harmonic sequences, she said, brow furrowed. Words tied to emotion, tone changes meaning entirely. It's not just what she says, it's how. Marcus crossed his arms. So if I sound angry, I could be saying something totally different than I mean. Exactly, Amina replied. And judging from her responses, your voice registers to her species like thunder, powerful, unpredictable. Marcus sighed. Guess I better learn to whisper then. Soraya stirred, eyelids flickering open. The amber of her eyes found him instantly. You speak again, the translator murmured. Why? He smiled faintly. Seems like you've got questions. Figured we might try answers. She tilted her head, watching the way his hands moved as he spoke. You gesture when you talk. Is that language? Marcus hesitated, then chuckled. Kinda. Humans talk with their hands sometimes. Helps show what words can't. She studied his movements intently, then raised her own hand, mirroring him, fingers trembling slightly. This, means. It means hello, he said softly, lifting his palm in greeting. It's a way of showing peace. Soraya looked at her own hand, then back at him. Her voice softened. We use hands to command, to punish, not to greet. That's a waste, Marcus said, sitting beside her bed. Hands are how we build, protect, heal. They tell our story when words can't. For a moment she seemed lost in thought, her gaze unfocused. Your people. They create sound that moves emotion, the waves I hear when you are near. What is it? Marcus realized she meant the jazz that still played faintly through the ship's comms. He smiled. That's music, a kind of heartbeat for the soul. You like it? Her head tilted. It makes my skin tremble. He chuckled, low and warm. That's the point, it's supposed to make you feel something. She blinked slowly, as if trying to understand the weight behind that word. Feel. The translator stumbled over the term, unable to match it. Your language has no boundary between sound and meaning, it flows. That's humanity, Marcus said. We messy like that. Feelings, words, all mixed together. Amina smiled faintly from her console. You might be her best translator yet. Soraya looked between them, her voice uncertain. You risk much. Your command will punish you. Marcus shrugged. Maybe, but I ain't the type to leave someone out in the cold. Her expression softened, the faintest trace of curiosity overcoming fear. You carry conflict in you, she whispered. Roughness and light. Marcus met her gaze steadily. Guess that's what being human means. Amina cleared her throat gently. Marcus, Earth Command's message just came through. They're ordering we keep her under containment. No further interaction without clearance. He turned toward her. And you told him? I said she's a patient, not a prisoner. Marcus smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He looked back at Soraya, who watched the exchange with quiet intensity. They think you're dangerous, he told her. Am I? She asked. He considered it. Not to me. Soraya's fingers brushed the edge of the blanket, tracing invisible symbols on the fabric. You speak as though you do not belong to them. I belong to my choices, he said simply. Something in that answer made her pulse quicken. The faint glow beneath her skin brightened. Then your kind is not what I was told. Marcus smiled, the corner of his mouth lifting. Maybe stories can change. The lights flickered as the ship adjusted its orbit, shadows sliding across their faces. Soraya's eyes lingered on his hands, the ones that had saved her, that moved with gentleness her world had forgotten. For the first time, her lips formed the human word without help from the translator. Marcus. And for him, that sound carried more meaning than any signal ever could. The ship's corridors pulsed with low red light as the emergency cycle began its nightly power rotation. Marcus leaned against the bulkhead outside the medbay, listening to the hum of the Umoja Voyager, the heartbeat of a ship caught between duty and conscience. His mind wouldn't quiet. Every order from Earth Command replayed in his head like static. Secure the alien entity, limit human exposure, await transport. He exhaled slowly. They didn't even call her by name. Inside, Soraya sat upright for the first time, her eyes tracing the smooth arc of the ship's ceiling. The faint glow under her skin flickered in rhythm with her breathing. Marcus stepped in, and she turned toward him, calm but alert. "They told me I'm not supposed to talk to you anymore," he said, voice low. Her gaze didn't waver. "And yet, you are here." "Yeah. Guess I'm not great at following bad orders." Her lips curved slightly, as if the concept of rebellion amused her. "In my world, obedience is survival." "In mine," he said, "it's a slow way to die." Amina entered quietly, a tablet in hand. "Marcus, we've got a problem. Command's sending a detainment unit. ETA 12 hours. Marcus's jaw tightened. "They're not taking her." "Marcus, no." His voice was steady, but there was iron beneath it. "She's not a weapon. She's a person." Soraya's expression shifted at that word. "Person," she repeated softly, tasting it. "Your kind name's what it values." He nodded. "Exactly." Amina sighed, rubbing her temples. "If you go against this order, they'll revoke your license, maybe even court-martial you. You'll lose everything you've worked for." Marcus looked at Soraya. "There's more to keep than titles." He turned back to Amina. "Help me. We can move her to cargo bay too, shielded, off main sensors, just until we figure this out." For a long moment, Amina didn't speak. Then she sighed, eyes softening. "You always were too human for your own good." "That's the nicest insult you've ever thrown at me," Marcus said with a faint grin. Soraya watched them both, her voice quiet. "You risk much for one who has given nothing." He shook his head. "You gave me trust. That's enough." Her eyes softened, but before she could reply, a soft vibration filled the room. From the comm speakers, faint music drifted, a slow, mournful trumpet. Marcus frowned. "Ty left the comms on again." Soraya tilted her head, listening. "That sound. It stirs the air inside me." "It's a song from home," Marcus said. "Louis Armstrong. Played his horn like he was speaking to God." "God," she repeated, struggling with the unfamiliar syllable. "Hey, you believe sound can reach and beyond?" He smiled. "Sometimes that's the only way we get heard." Amina gave a small laugh. "You and your jazz philosophy." "It's not philosophy," Marcus said softly. "It's memory. Every note's a fight to stay alive." Soraya's fingers touched her chest just above her heart. "Then I understand, my people. We sing before battle. It reminds us we still feel." The music swelled faintly as if answering her. Marcus's chest tightened. "You said your world's built on obedience. Ever wonder what it'd sound like if you disobeyed?" Her gaze met his. "It would sound like this." They stood in silence, the distant trumpet filling the room with something fragile and eternal. Amina broke the stillness. "We don't have long. I'll start prepping the bay." When she left, Soraya turned to Marcus. "You hide me from your own. I protect what's right." She looked at him for a long moment. "Your hands build, mine destroy. Perhaps I have much to learn." "Then we'll learn together," he said. The red lights dimmed to amber, soft and uncertain, as the jazz faded into silence. And somewhere deep inside him, Marcus knew there was no turning back. Titan's pale horizon glowed faintly through the observation deck, light bending around the methane haze. The Umoja Voyager floated above that orange world like a silent guardian, its hull scarred from the last skirmish but holding steady. Marcus stood by the viewport, his reflection merging with the distant storms. He couldn't stop thinking about Earth Command's silence, about the ticking clock that hung over all of them. Soraya approached quietly. Her steps made no sound. The glow beneath her skin reflected off the glass. You look at your world's moon, she said softly, but your mind is elsewhere. He nodded, not turning. Thinking about what comes next. They're not going to stop, Soraya. They'll come for you, and for anyone standing with you. Her expression darkened, a shadow of memory passing through her eyes. You speak as one who knows pursuit. I do, he said. Every soldier learns what it means to be hunted. You fight to survive, but part of you always stays in the fire. She looked down at her hands. We call it the memory of fire. When loss burns so deep it becomes part of the blood. Marcus turned, finally meeting her gaze. You've felt it too. Her jaw tightened. My people believed empathy was a flaw. The Valen Empire divided itself between those who felt and those who obeyed. I chose wrong. He frowned. What do you mean? I stood before the council, she said slowly, voice trembling. I told them compassion made us strong, not weak. They called it treason. My own guards bound me, stripped my title, and sent me into exile. Her breath hitched, the translator barely catching the soft tremor in her words. When I escaped, they erased my name from the archives. To my world, I am already dead. Marcus let the silence settle before answering. Sounds familiar. She looked at him, puzzled. Back on Earth, he said, there were times when whole generations of people were erased from history books. Folks who built nations, fought wars, raised families, and still got told they didn't belong. My grandmother used to say, they can bury our names but not our rhythm. Soraya's eyes softened. You speak with the weight of those who came before. Yeah, he said quietly. They gave me fire too. But we learned how to turn it into light. For a while, they stood in silence, the faint hum of the engines their only companion. Then Soraya whispered, when you touched me, I felt something I had never known before, warmth without pain. You did not demand, you did not command, you offered. Marcus looked down, embarrassed by the honesty in her tone. Guess that's just how we do things. Kindness don't cost much. She shook her head slowly. In my world, kindness costs everything. He studied her carefully. Then maybe it's time someone showed your people what it's worth. Her eyes shimmered with quiet defiance. You would risk war for me. I'd risk it for what's right, he said simply. She stepped closer, close enough that the faint warmth of her skin brushed against his. Humans, she murmured. You build with contradiction. Strength that feels. Courage that doubts. You are impossible. He smiled faintly. That's what makes us dangerous. Her laugh was soft, almost human. But the moment lingered, only a heartbeat before Amina's voice came through the comm. Marcus, you need to see this. I just picked up a transmission. Valen code signature. Marcus's stomach dropped. They found us? Looks that way, Amina said grimly. Multiple signals inbound, fast. Soraya's expression hardened, the glow beneath her skin flaring like embers reignited. Then the memory of fire returns. Marcus clenched his jaw, his pulse steadying with purpose. Not this time, he said. This time, we decide what burns. Outside the viewport, the first streaks of light cut across Titan's haze, distant yet certain, an approaching storm. The command deck of the Umoja Voyager glowed in dim hues of amber and blue, warning lights blinking like restless eyes. Amina's fingers danced across her console, pulling data from the ship's sensors. 3 signatures confirmed, she said, voice taut. Valen interceptors, small, fast, and armed. Ty Harris spun his pilot chair halfway around, eyes wide. Tell me that's a glitch. Wish it was, Marcus replied, stepping up beside him. They're coming straight for us, no radio hail, no hesitation. Soraya stood near the back of the bridge, the glow beneath her skin dimmed to a ghostly hue. They will not speak, she said quietly. To them, my capture is a stain. They will erase it by erasing me. Marcus frowned. Your own people sent hunters after you. She nodded once. My defiance cannot exist. If they destroy me, the story dies too. A low tremor rippled through the deck as the ship's shields powered up. Marcus felt the vibration in his chest, steady and cold. Ty, evasive pattern Gamma 9. Keep us between the moon's magnetic field and their line of sight. Ty cracked his knuckles. Ain't nobody outflying me in my own sky, Amina muttered under her breath. This isn't a race, Ty. One wrong move and we're cosmic dust. Marcus's voice cut through the tension, steady and commanding. Focus. We play this smart, not loud. The ship dove, engines roaring to life. Through the viewport, Titan's methane clouds rolled below like liquid gold. 3 specks of light sliced through the haze behind them. Veylan ships moving with surgical precision. Shields at 70%, Amina said. They're scanning our hull. Soraya's hands gripped the rail tightly. Their weapons are plasma-laced. Direct impact will pierce your defenses. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Good to know. He opened the intercom. Engineering, reroute power from habitation to forward shields. I want the reactor breathing fire. Static crackled. Then a voice came through, Chief Malik, gruff and unbothered. You got it, Captain, but you burned too hot and we'll be floating home in silence. Noted, Marcus said. Do it anyway. The ship shuddered violently as the first blast grazed their aft stabilizer. Sparks burst from a console. Ty cursed, jerking the controls. They're herding us, Marcus. Trying to drive us out of Titan's shadow. Hold your course, Marcus ordered. They want us in open space, we stay low. Amina adjusted frequencies, her brow furrowed. I'm picking up encrypted comms between the interceptors. If I can piggyback their signal, maybe we can send a false ping, make them think reinforcements are inbound. Do it, Marcus said. Her fingers flew. Give me 30 seconds. Soraya watched them all, her voice trembling but clear. You fight as one body, each part moving for the whole. Marcus gave her a short smile. That's how humans survive. Outside, the second volley hit. The ship's frame groaned, metal stretching under strain. Alarms blared, red lights painting their faces in sharp contrast. Amina shouted, Signal ready. Send it, Marcus ordered. A burst of static filled the room. Then silence. Ty glanced at his radar. Wait, 2 of them just broke formation. Looks like they're diverting course. Amina exhaled, leaning back in her chair. They took the bait. Marcus clapped her shoulder. Knew you'd find the rhythm. But Soraya's voice was soft, warning. The third one remains. He will not retreat. Ty squinted at his screen. She's right. Last ship's locked on tight. Marcus steadied himself. Then we deal with one. He keyed the comms. Malik, overcharge the forward cannon. Give me 1 clean shot. You'll fry the array, Malik warned. Just one, Marcus said. The deck lights flickered as the cannon charged. The hum built to a deep, resonant growl that seemed to shake the air. Marcus waited until the targeting reticle flashed red, then whispered, Now. The cannon fired, a blinding streak of energy cutting through the void. The Veylan interceptor spun, engines flaring, before vanishing in a burst of silent light. Silence fell over the bridge. Only the ship's steady hum remained. Amina broke it softly. Direct hit. Ty let out a long whistle. Man's got fire in his veins. Marcus didn't smile. His eyes met Soraya's. No, he said quietly. Just people to protect. And outside, Titan's storms rolled on, eternal, indifferent, while the Umoja Voyager caught its breath in their shadow. The Umoja Voyager drifted low over Titan's surface, its hull vibrating with each groan of the atmosphere. The golden haze outside pulsed like an endless twilight, thick with methane clouds that swallowed light whole. Inside, every breath tasted of recycled air and tension. They had survived the chase, but the ship was wounded, fractured shielding, failing power, oxygen levels dropping. Marcus sat at the central console, sleeves rolled to his elbows, sweat tracing lines down his temple. Status? Amina's voice came from engineering, clipped and steady. Primary reactor offline, backup running at 40%. We've got 6 hours of breathable air unless we cut consumption. Ty grunted from the navigation pit. And here I thought today was looking up. Marcus forced a small smile. Always the optimist. He turned to Soraya, who stood beside a cracked viewport, her eyes reflecting Titan's pale glow. You all right? Her voice was calm but heavy. This place, it feels like home. Silent, distant, beautiful, but not alive. Funny, Marcus said. That's how some people describe space itself. She turned toward him, the faint light beneath her skin flickering like fading embers. Silence is not peace, Marcus Reed. It is only the sound left when hope has gone. The words settled deep. He wanted to answer, but his comm crackled. Amina's voice again. We'll need to shut down non-essential systems, including heat. Marcus hesitated. You sure? Positive. Either we freeze slow or suffocate fast. Ty muttered. That's one hell of a menu. Marcus exhaled. Do it. The lights dimmed. A low hum filled the ship, followed by the soft whine of systems powering down. The temperature dropped almost immediately, mist curling from their breaths. They gathered in the mess hall, Amina, Ty, Soraya, and Marcus, around a portable heater the size of a dinner plate. The faint orange glow cast their faces in shadow and gold. Amina distributed ration packs, rehydrated collard greens and cornbread, the last of their comfort meals. Ty eyed the food, smirking. Didn't think I'd see a Sunday plate this far from Georgia. Amina raised an eyebrow. You're welcome. My grandmother's recipe. Never travel without culture. Marcus chuckled softly. That's gospel. Soraya watched them, silent at first, then asked, Why do you eat together when there is fear? Because that's when it matters most, Marcus said. Back home, whenever things got rough, my folks cooked. Food meant you still had something to fight for. Soraya looked down at the bowl in her hands, the steam rising gently. We share energy before battle, she said. Not for comfort, but to remember the cost. Amina smiled faintly. Then maybe we're not so different after all. Soraya took a slow bite, her expression unreadable. The faint sweetness of cornbread lingered on her tongue. Your flavors, she murmured. They carry memory. Marcus nodded. Everything we do carries memory. That's what makes us human. For a while, no one spoke. The quiet was companionable, the kind of silence born from exhaustion and fragile unity. Outside, Titan's winds howled faintly against the hull, low and distant, like a lullaby from a dying world. Ty leaned back. You know, Cap, this crew's something else. A fugitive princess, a rebel linguist, a tired pilot, and you, man still trying to save everyone. Marcus smiled wearily. Could be worse. Yeah, Ty said. Could be dead. Laughter broke through the cold, soft but real. Even Soraya's eyes brightened, the glow beneath her skin warming for the first time in hours. Then, as the sound faded, Marcus caught her watching him, curious, almost tender. What? He asked. You carry warmth into the void, she said, even when your world burns. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. The heater flickered, struggling against the cold. Amina leaned closer, whispering, Power's fading faster than expected. We'll need a miracle or a plan, and I don't believe in the first one. Marcus stared at the faint shimmer of Titan storms through the viewport, the methane lightning rippling in the distance, like silent applause from the universe itself. Then we make one, he said quietly. The glow from the heater dimmed again, their breaths visible in the dark. Outside, Titan whispered through the wind, a song of endurance that none of them could afford to ignore. The ship's night cycle dimmed the corridors to deep blue, giving the Umoja Voyager a dreamlike stillness. The hum of the engines had become a lullaby of survival, steady but fragile. Marcus sat alone in the observation lounge, wrapped in the dim reflection of Saturn's distant rings. He held an old holochip in his hand, one of the few personal things he'd brought from Earth. When he tapped it, a small projection flickered to life, a dusty bar filled with laughter, neon lights and the lazy sway of jazz. From the hologram stage, an older woman sang with a voice that could make a galaxy pause. Marcus closed his eyes and breathed in the memory. My grandmother, he murmured. Back in Atlanta. She owned that place for 40 years. Folks used to come from all over just to hear her sing Summertime. Soraya stood near the doorway, drawn by the soft melody. This is human history. He turned slightly, smiling. It's my history, a piece of home. She stepped closer, her voice quiet but curious. Your music carries sorrow and hope together. How do you endure both at once? Marcus shrugged. That's the trick of it. You don't separate the two, you let them dance. Soraya watched the projection with a strange stillness. In my world, sound is used for command, orders, signals, obedience. But this, she gestured toward the image, this is freedom shaped by rhythm. He nodded. Exactly. Music's the soul talking when words fall short. Amina entered, carrying 2 mugs of recycled coffee substitute. Didn't think I'd find you all getting sentimental, she teased, handing one to Marcus. He grinned. It's either that or think about how low our oxygen's dropping, Amina sighed. Then keep the jazz playing, it's easier than panic. Soraya studied them, her head tilted. You speak lightly even when close to death. Amina sipped her drink. That's called humor, another survival tool. Soraya frowned thoughtfully. Your species builds resilience from pain. Marcus leaned back in his chair, gaze distant. That's our inheritance. My people back on Earth. We turned every hardship into rhythm, every fight into movement. When the world told us we couldn't stand, we danced anyway. Soraya's expression softened. You make rebellion sound like art. He smiled faintly. Sometimes it was the only art we had left. The hologram flickered again, the bar's colors dimming. Marcus tapped the chip, but it only hummed weakly. The voice faded into static. Guess the battery's finally dead, he said quietly. Soraya reached out, hesitating before touching the small device. Your world lived through so much, yet you still create beauty. Beauty's how we remember we're alive, he said, even when the world forgets us. Ty's voice crackled through the comm. Captain, I just got a ping from Earth Command. Priority transmission. Marcus stiffened. Patch it through. Can't, Ty said. Signals encrypted. They're routing it through a private channel, flagged for your eyes only. Amina raised an eyebrow. That never means anything good. Marcus set down the mug and stood. Keep the ship steady. I'll take it in the comm room. As he walked past Soraya, she caught his sleeve gently. Whatever they demand, remember, you do not stand alone. He met her gaze for a moment, her eyes steady and luminous. I appreciate that, he said softly. When he left, Amina leaned toward Soraya. He carries more weight than he admits. Soraya nodded slowly. He carries everyone. In the quiet that followed, the last faint echoes of the hologram replayed. A few seconds of trumpet, rough but full of life. Soraya closed her eyes, letting the rhythm settle into her pulse. For the first time, she understood that sound wasn't just noise. It was history. It was survival. Outside, Saturn's rings shimmered like threads of memory, their glow brushing against the Umoja Voyager as if the universe itself were listening. The comm room was dim and silent when the encrypted signal came through. Marcus stood before the console, arms crossed, watching the Federation seal flicker onto the screen. A moment later, the face of Admiral Keene appeared, sharp features, silver hair, eyes like cold steel. Captain Reed, the Admiral said, voice clipped. You violated 3 direct orders and exposed classified personnel to an unauthorized entity. Explain yourself. Marcus's tone was even. I made a call to save a life. That's what command is supposed to mean. Keene leaned forward. You brought an alien royal fugitive aboard a Terran vessel. You've endangered every human in the Jovian sector. That's not command. That's recklessness. She's not a threat, Marcus said, jaw tightening. She's a political spark in a vacuum full of gunpowder, Keene interrupted. We've been negotiating Veylan neutrality for decades. Now they're demanding her return. If we refuse, war isn't hypothetical. It's tomorrow. Marcus swallowed hard. You want me to hand her over? I want you to remember who you serve, Keene said. Your duty is to humanity, not to sentiment. The words hit harder than they should have. Marcus's voice dropped, quiet but firm. Empathy is duty. You taught us that at the academy? Keene's expression didn't waver. I taught you survival. Choose wisely, Captain. Transmit her coordinates within 2 hours. The signal cut. Marcus stood in the silence that followed, the hum of the ship loud in his ears. When he finally turned, Soraya was in the doorway, her eyes reflecting faint light. "They wish to claim me," she said softly. He nodded. "They think it'll stop a war." "Will it?" He didn't answer. Amina entered, tension written all over her face. "We heard. The crew's asking what we do next." Marcus ran a hand across his scalp. "What do you think?" "I think if we fight the Federation, we lose everything," she said quietly. "But if we hand her over, we lose something worse." Ty's voice came through the comm, urgent. "Cap, hate to break the moment, but we got Earth Command signals bouncing all over Titan's orbit. You stall too long, they'll come take her themselves." Marcus looked at Amina, then Soraya. "You both know what happens if I refuse." Amina folded her arms. "You'll be court-martialed, stripped of rank, maybe worse." Soraya stepped closer, her voice trembling. "Then let me go willingly. My capture will spare your people. I was born knowing sacrifice." Marcus met her gaze. "You think I could live with that? It is not your burden to carry." He shook his head slowly. "You came to us for mercy. We gave it. That makes you our responsibility." Her lips parted, uncertain. "You risk your world for me." "For what's right," he said. "Not just for you." Amina's eyes softened, but her voice held steady. "Marcus, I'll follow your lead, whatever it is." Ty broke in again, tone sharp. "Cap, they're sending a shuttle, Federation markings inbound fast." Marcus turned to Soraya. "You have a choice, Princess. You can go back to them, or you can trust me one more time." Her eyes shimmered, the glow beneath her skin pulsing like fire under glass. "Trust is not given. It is built." He extended his hand. "Then let's finish building it." For a moment, she said nothing. Then she placed her hand in his, cool, trembling, steadying. Amina's console beeped, alert, flashing red. "They're hailing us, Marcus." "1 minute out." He squeezed Soraya's hand. "Then let's make our answer count." The ship's lights dimmed as power rerouted to the bridge. The hum of engines rose again, slow and thunderous, like the breath before a storm. Marcus looked at Amina and Ty through the comm display. "Crew to stations." "We're not surrendering anyone today." Outside, the Federation shuttle drew closer, its lights cold against the void. Inside, the choice had already been made. The air aboard the Umoja Voyager felt heavier after the Federation shuttle docked. The metallic echo of boots on the deck reverberated through the corridors, a rhythm Marcus had known too many times before. Federation officers, faces hidden behind visors, moved with the precision of men obeying orders they didn't question. Soraya stood beside Marcus, calm but resolute, her eyes glowing faintly under the ship's cold light. "You cannot stop them," she said softly. "I can delay them," he answered. "Sometimes that's enough." The door hissed open and Commander Ivers stepped in, tall, dark uniform immaculate, tone sharp. "Captain Reed, by authority of the Terran Federation, I'm taking custody of the alien detainee known as Soraya of Vela." "She's not a detainee," Marcus replied evenly. "She's under my protection." Ivers's eyes narrowed. "Protection implies danger, Captain. From whom?" "Us?" Amina appeared behind Marcus, arms folded. "Considering you showed up uninvited with an armed squad, I'd say the implication speaks for itself." The commander ignored her. "Captain, I suggest you stand down before you add insubordination to your record. This is bigger than your ship or your sentiment." Marcus stepped forward. "Everything's bigger than sentiment until you lose your humanity to it." "Enough," Ivers snapped. He gestured to his soldiers. "Take her." Soraya didn't resist as 2 officers approached. Her voice was quiet, melodic, even in surrender. "Do not fight for me, Marcus Reed. Your defiance will only feed their fear." But Marcus didn't move aside. "If I let them take you, everything we've done, everything we've learned, dies right here." One of the soldiers raised a weapon. Ty's voice came over the comm, tension crackling through every word. "Cap, say the word. I can lock the bay doors." Marcus hesitated. His heart pounded. 1,000 thoughts collided. Duty, compassion, the memory of every order he'd ever followed that cost something irreplaceable. Then Soraya touched his arm, her hand cool, grounding. "Please," she whispered, "let this be my choice." Her words silenced him more than any command could. He stepped aside, jaw tight, eyes burning. The soldiers led her toward the corridor. Hamina muttered under her breath, "This isn't justice, it's fear in uniform." Ivers looked back once. "Fear keeps peace, Doctor. Remember that." When the shuttle detached, Marcus watched through the viewport as its engines flared to life, shrinking into the dark. His reflection stared back at him, hard, tired, and hollow. Ty's voice crackled through again. "You just gonna let 'em take her?" Marcus didn't answer right away. "They didn't take her," he said quietly. "She chose to go." "Man," Ty replied, voice rough, "you don't believe that any more than I do." Amina placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "They'll tear her apart in interrogation. You know what the Federation does to anything it can't understand." He looked up slowly, resolve forming behind the grief in his eyes. "Then we'll make sure they have no choice but to understand." Amina frowned. "What are you thinking?" Marcus turned back to the viewport. "Truth doesn't die quietly. I'm going to make the whole system hear her voice." Later, in the quiet of his quarters, Marcus sat before the ship's terminal. He opened the encrypted log, recorded his voice, and spoke to the universe. "My name is Captain Marcus Reed of the Umoja Voyager. The being you call the alien princess isn't a weapon. She's proof that empathy can survive across stars. The Federation wants silence. But I was raised to believe silence kills souls." He paused, breathing steady, then hit transmit. Across the data feeds, his words began to scatter, untraceable, unstoppable. Somewhere beyond Titan's orbit, the message reached the wrong ears and the right hearts. And as the stars burned faintly outside, Marcus whispered to himself, "Let them hear us now." The galaxy had never heard a voice like Marcus Reed's before. Within hours of his transmission, data feeds across Earth, Luna, and the Jovian colonies erupted. His message, raw, unfiltered, defiant, had escaped every firewall the Federation tried to build around it. The words spread like wildfire through space. Empathy is not weakness. Marcus watched from the Umoja Voyager's bridge as reports poured in, each one a spark of consequence. Amina leaned over the console, scrolling through live feeds. "They're calling it the Reed broadcast," she said quietly. "Half the colonies are streaming it, the other half are trying to block it." Ty gave a low whistle. "You just declared war with a speech, Cap. Never seen a man piss off the entire Federation with nothing but heart." Marcus didn't smile. "They needed to hear the truth." Amina frowned. "Truth has a cost." He met her gaze. "Everything worth something does." The communications deck glowed with incoming transmissions, some supportive, others venomous. A young journalist from Nairobi LunaNet appeared on one feed, her tone electric with defiance. "Captain Reed's words remind us who we are. The Federation calls it treason. I call it conscience." On another, a senator's voice thundered through a crowded hearing. "He's endangered humanity for sentiment. Empathy doesn't protect borders." Ty snorted. "Guess they forgot borders don't mean much when you're floating in vacuum." Marcus turned to the viewport. "They'll try to silence it. They'll spin it, bury it under fear." "But not before it reaches someone who listens," Amina said. "It's already on Earth's grassroots networks, black artists, teachers, community leaders. They're quoting you, Marcus. They're calling you the voice beyond the sky." He shook his head. "I'm no hero, I just told the truth." She smiled faintly. "That's exactly why it's spreading." Outside the ship, Saturn's rings glowed faintly, serene and distant. The calm mocked the storm that now raged across human networks. The Federation's official broadcasts showed Admiral Keane condemning the message, calling for Marcus's immediate arrest. Amina muted the feed, disgusted. "They're already rewriting it, editing your words to sound like you threatened peace." Marcus rubbed his temples. "They always rewrite what they fear." Ty tapped his console. "Incoming encrypted ping. Unknown origin." "Might want to see this?" A holographic window opened. A woman's voice, firm and calm, filled the bridge. "Captain Reed, I'm Dr. Althea Mbeki, Civil Rights Coalition, Earth Sector. You've started something you can't control, but maybe that's the point. The people are listening. We won't let them bury your message. Amina exhaled softly. She's risking everything even saying that. Marcus felt something shift inside him, hope mixed with guilt. She shouldn't have to. Soraya's voice echoed faintly through the ship's comm memory, a stored recording from the medbay. You build unity through defiance. He whispered to himself. Maybe she was right. Ty looked up from his console. Cap, Federation ships are tightening comms across every relay. They're going to cut us off completely if we don't move soon. Amina stepped closer. Then we move. We protect the story. Even if they silence us, they can't silence what's already out there. Marcus nodded, decision hardening in his chest. We scatter the message through the outer colonies, use every independent relay left. If they chase us, they'll chase ghosts. Ty grinned. Man, you just turned a rescue mission into a revolution. Amina looked at Marcus, her expression soft but certain. She'd be proud, you know. Soraya. He didn't reply, but the look in his eyes said everything. Outside, fragments of the broadcast continued to ripple across deep space, snippets of words carried on unseen waves. Empathy is strength. Compassion is resistance. The rough ones, they build, not break. On a backwater moon, a child listened to those words through a hacked receiver. On Mars, a poet turned them into a song. On Earth, protests sparked under glowing city skies. The fire had already caught, and somewhere beyond Titan's shadow, Marcus realized the truth. Once kindled, it could not be extinguished. The Umoja Voyager shook under the weight of pursuit. Alarms pulsed red through the corridors, each one echoing like a heartbeat of defiance. Marcus stood on the bridge, hands gripping the console. Status! Ty's voice carried over the chaos. 2 Federation destroyers closing fast. They're not talking, just shooting. Amina's fingers flew across her terminal. We've got partial power from the secondary reactor, but shields are thin. Another hit and we'll start losing structural integrity. Marcus inhaled slowly. Then we don't get hit again. The ship lurched as another plasma round glanced off the hull. Sparks burst from an overhead conduit, showering the deck in orange light. Ty cursed. They're herding us towards Saturn's ring shadow. If we stay in open orbit, we're done. Take us into the debris field, Marcus ordered. Amina looked up sharply. That's suicide, Marcus. Those fragments will tear us apart. He met her eyes. Better to risk the rocks than die obeying someone else's orders. Ty grinned tightly. Now that's the captain I signed up for. As the Umoja dove into the field, the sound of the hull scraping against icy dust filled the bridge, a haunting symphony of metal and defiance. Outside, Saturn's rings stretched like ribbons of light, and between them chaos and beauty danced side by side. Deploy the decoys, Marcus commanded. Amina hit the switch. Small capsules launched from the ship, scattering energy signatures that mimicked their reactor. On the radar, 3 new targets appeared. Ty smirked. Let's see if they can tell which heartbeat's real. The destroyers split formation, chasing the ghosts. For the first time in hours, the Umoja's sensors showed breathing room. Marcus allowed a slow exhale. Nice work. Amina nodded. Temporary reprieve, but they'll find us again. We need a plan that lasts longer than luck. Marcus's gaze fell on the comm array flickering in standby mode. What if we use their own systems against them? We've still got Federation access codes from our pre-incident clearance. Amina frowned. You're suggesting we hack a destroyer? That's not a plan, Marcus. That's a declaration of war. He gave a grim smile. Maybe it's time we stop pretending we're not already at war. Ty's hands tightened on the controls. Then let's hit him where it hurts. Amina hesitated, then nodded. All right. I'll start reprogramming the array. But we'll need a signal amplifier, something to bounce through the ring ice and mask our origin. Marcus turned to her. Can you do it? I can try, she said, but I'll need every watt this ship has left. Take it. The lights dimmed as power rerouted through the system. The hum of the engines deepened to a low growl. Amina's voice was steady but intense. "Locking in on their lead ship's command channel. If this works, we'll flood their comms with false orders." Ty's eyes widened. "What kind of orders?" Amina smirked faintly. "To stand down." Marcus chuckled softly. "Make it sound official." Her hands moved in a blur, typing command strings in 3 languages. Signal sent. Now we wait. The tension in the air was suffocating. Every second stretched. Then the radar blinked. Enemy ships slowing, their formation broke. Ty blinked in disbelief. "They're pulling back. It actually worked." Amina exhaled shakily, leaning back in her chair. "They think their own command told them to cease pursuit." Marcus gave a small nod. "Buy us time." That's all we ever needed. As the ship drifted through the silent shimmer of the rings, the crew sat in stunned quiet. Ty broke it first. "Cap, I don't know what's next, but you just made history. Folks back home are gonna call this the human rebellion." Marcus stared at the stars beyond the glass. "No rebellion," he said softly. "Just people remembering who they are." Amina looked at him, voice quiet. "You really think they'll listen?" "They already are," Marcus replied. "And they won't forget." Outside, Saturn's rings glittered like shattered glass, reflecting the fragile light of hope, and the hum of the Umoja Voyager pressed on, free but hunted, carrying the heartbeat of humanity through the silence of space. The silence before battle was always the loudest. The Umoja Voyager drifted just beyond Saturn's rings, its lights dimmed, its hull trembling under the weight of approaching fleets. Amina stared at the radar, the screen awash with blips. Federation cruisers on one side, Veylan warships on the other. Between them, nothing but vacuum and Marcus's ship. Ty's voice broke the quiet. "They're talking through open channels now. Federation's calling for surrender. Veylans are demanding retribution. Whole damn system's about to light up." Marcus stood at the center of the bridge, shoulders squared, eyes steady. "If they fire, millions die. We need to give them something else to aim at." Amina looked at him. "Like what?" "We're a cargo vessel with a hacked signal array and duct tape for shields." He smiled faintly. "That's more than most revolutions start with." Ty glanced over his shoulder. "Cap, you got a plan? Or are we just hoping for divine intervention?" Marcus didn't answer right away. His gaze lingered on the stars beyond the viewport, the void that now seemed to hold its breath. "They're both afraid," he said. "The Federation fears losing control. The Veylans fear losing pride. Fear's just noise. We need to change the rhythm." Amina frowned. "Meaning?" "Meaning," Marcus said. "We give them something they can't weaponize, a truth they can't ignore." He turned to the console and tapped the ship's comm system. The speakers hummed to life. "Open a broadcast to both fleets." Amina hesitated. "Marcus, that's suicide." "Then let's make it worth dying for." She hesitated one heartbeat too long, then nodded. "Channel open." Static filled the air. Marcus leaned toward the mic, voice low but clear. "To anyone who can hear me, this is Captain Marcus Reed of the Umoja Voyager. I stand between 2 armadas, both ready to burn the sky. You've called each other monsters. You've called us monsters. But you've forgotten something. Monsters don't choose mercy." His voice carried through the void, amplified across frequencies. "The woman you hunt, Soraya of Vela, she showed us what you forgot. Compassion isn't weakness, it's what keeps a world from devouring itself." On the Velan channel, a voice snarled. "Silence your insolence, human. You speak for no throne." Marcus didn't flinch. "I speak for the only thing worth saving, the part of us that remembers how to listen." Amina whispered. "They're still charging weapons." He met her gaze. "Then we make them hear." He turned to Ty. "Patch in the external audio, channel the archive from Soraya's translator logs." Ty hesitated. "You mean her voice?" Marcus nodded. "Play it." A moment later, her words filled the bridge, not as commands, but as music. The translator softened her speech into melody, every phrase carrying emotion that crossed species and syntax alike. The sound poured into the comm waves, weaving through the static like a prayer made of light. "She's singing," Amina whispered, realizing. Marcus smiled faintly. "No, she's remembering." Across the networks, both fleets paused. The sound, alien yet achingly human, cut through the tension like a pulse. It rose, trembled, then merged with something new. A faint trumpet from the ship's archive, the same jazz melody Marcus had once played for her. Ty's eyes widened. "You mixed her voice with Armstrong?" "Yeah," Marcus said softly. "Let the universe hear what unity sounds like." The frequencies merged, her alien resonance, his earthborn rhythm, rising until even the comm interference turned to harmony. Then the sensors blinked. Amina gasped. "Federation ships are lowering shields." Ty's voice broke with disbelief. "And the Valans, they're standing down." Marcus closed his eyes, letting the sound wash over him. "Music," he said quietly. "That's the language they forgot." For the first time since Jupiter, the void fell silent, not in threat, but in awe. The two fleets hovered in uneasy stillness, no longer enemies, just listeners. Amina exhaled, tears glinting in her eyes. "You did it." Marcus shook his head. "We did it." Outside, the last notes of Soraya's song faded into the stars. The tremor between worlds had begun, not of war but of awakening. The years that followed were quieter but never empty. The Umoja Voyager had long since been retired to Earth's orbital museum, a relic of the day when two civilizations chose to listen instead of destroy. Yet for Marcus Reed, memory was not something that faded. It lived in every echo of the stars above Atlanta's night sky. He sat on the terrace of the Interstellar Academy, his reflection blending with the glass dome that shielded the students' garden. Below him, laughter carried through the humid evening air, young cadets moving between classes in the golden glow of sunset. Humanity had changed, but slowly, like jazz evolving through centuries of rhythm. Amina approached from behind, her steps familiar. "I still come here every night," she said, placing a mug beside him. Marcus smiled faintly. "Old habits. The view helps me think." She looked out across the horizon, where the sky shifted from blue to indigo. "About her?" He didn't answer immediately. "About what we built, what it cost, what it gave." Amina took a slow sip, studying him. "The peace treaty holds stronger than anyone believed it would. The Valan ambassador just addressed the Earth Assembly this morning." "I know," Marcus said quietly. "She sent me a message." Amina's eyes softened. "Soraya?" He nodded. "She said she's been teaching her people about human empathy, about how compassion can lead without conquest. Said she still remembers the sound of jazz." Amina smiled. "You taught her well." He chuckled under his breath. "I didn't teach her. We just listened to each other long enough to understand." A moment passed in comfortable silence before Amina said, "You should go see her." "The stars seem smaller when you stop chasing them." Marcus looked up, where the faint glow of orbiting satellites traced silver lines across the sky. "Maybe. But sometimes it's enough to know they're still out there." She laughed softly. "You've gotten poetic in your old age." "Was always poetic," he said with a grin. "You just didn't notice." From the distance, the Academy speakers began playing faint music, an old Earth recording, slightly distorted by age. The trumpet's voice rose again, smooth and warm, a sound that stitched together past and present. Marcus closed his eyes and let it fill him. He remembered Soraya's whisper before she left Earth, the same whisper that haunted and comforted him in equal measure. "The universe trembles not from fear, but from your kindness." When he opened his eyes, Amina was smiling. "She was right, you know." Marcus shook his head gently. "Kindness wasn't mine alone. It was the crew. You, Ty, even those who doubted. Everyone who decided to choose empathy when anger was easier. And yet," Amina said, "you were the one who answered the call." He leaned back, gaze tracing the deepening sky. "Guess that's what humans do. We answer, even when no one expects us to." A group of young cadets passed nearby, whispering and glancing at him with a mixture of awe and reverence. To them he was a legend, a man who spoke peace into a void that only knew war. Marcus gave them a nod, humble but warm, and they hurried off, grinning. Amina stood. "You should join the ceremony tomorrow. They're naming the new exploration fleet after you." Marcus chuckled. They could have picked a better name. "No," she said. They couldn't. As she walked away, Marcus stayed where he was, the hum of life around him blending with the soft rhythm of memory. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an old hollow chip, the same one that held his grandmother's bar, her music still frozen in light. He set it on the railing, and with a soft press the song began to play. The melody rose into the air, carried by the wind, and somewhere above satellites caught the sound, scattering it through the quiet of space like a heartbeat reborn. Marcus smiled. "Keep listening," he whispered. "We're still here. And if you felt the pulse of this story, if the echoes of courage and compassion still linger, subscribe for more tales of humanity's light among the stars. And don't forget to click the next story waiting on your screen, the legend of the first Martian-born child who defied destiny.